The Infidel Reclaimed, Part 2, containing the nature, proof, and importance of immortality. Preface. As we are at war with the power, it were well if we were at war with the manners of France. A land of levity is a land of guilt. A serious mind is the native soil of every virtue, and the single character that does true honour to mankind. The soul's immortality has been the favourite theme with the serious of all ages. Nor is it strange. It is a subject by far the most interesting and important that can enter the mind of man. Of highest moment this subject always was and always will be. Yet this its highest moment seems to admit of increase at this day. A sort of occasional importance is superadded to the natural weight of it, if that opinion which is advanced in the preface to the preceding might be just. It is there supposed that all our infidels, whatever scheme, for argument's sake, and to keep themselves in countenance, they patronise, are betrayed into their deplorable error by some doubts of their immortality at the bottom. And the more I consider this point, the more I am persuaded of the truth of that opinion. Though the distrust of a futurity is a strange error, yet it is an error into which bad men may naturally be distressed. For it is impossible to bid defiance to final ruin without some refuge in imagination, some presumption of escape. And what presumption is there? There are but two in nature, but two, within the compass of human thought, and these are that either God will not or cannot punish. Considering the divine attributes, the first is too gross to be digested by our strongest wishes, and since omnipotence is as much a divine attribute as holiness, that God cannot punish is as absurd a supposition as the former. God certainly can punish as long as wicked men exist. In non-existence, therefore, is their only refuge, and, consequently, non-existence is their strongest wish, and strong wishes have a strange influence on our opinions. They bias the judgment in a manner almost incredible, and since on this member of their alternative there are some very small appearances in their favour, and none at all on the other, they catch at this reed, they lay hold on this chimera, to save themselves from the shock and horror of an immediate and absolute despair. On reviewing my subject, by the light which this argument and others of like tendency threw upon it, I was more inclined than ever to pursue it, as it appeared to me to strike directly at the main root of all our infidelity. In the following pages it is, accordingly, pursued at large, and some arguments for immortality, new at least to me, are ventured on in them. There also the writer has made an attempt to set the gross absurdities and horrors of annihilation in a fuller and more affecting view than is, I think, to be met with elsewhere. The gentleman for whose sake this attempt was chiefly made profess great admiration for the wisdom of heathen antiquity. What pity it is they are not sincere. If they were sincere, how would it mortify them to consider with what contempt and abhorrence their notions would have been received by those whom they so much admire? What degree of contempt and abhorrence would fall to their share may be conjectured by the following matter of fact, in my opinion, extremely memorable. Of all their heathen worthies, Socrates, it is well known, was the most guarded, dispassionate, and composed. Yet this great master of temper was angry, and angry at his last hour, and angry with his friend, and angry for what deserved acknowledgment, angry for a right and tender instance of true friendship towards him. Is not this surprising? What could be the cause? The cause was for his honour. It was a truly noble, though, perhaps, a too punctilious regard for immortality. For his friend asking him, with such an affectionate concern as became a friend, where he should deposit his remains, it was resented by Socrates as implying a dishonourable supposition that he could be so mean as to have a regard for anything, even in himself, that was not immortal. This fact, well considered, would make our infidels withdraw their admiration from Socrates, or make them endeavour by their imitation of this illustrious example to share his glory, and consequently it would incline them to peruse the following pages with candour and impartiality, which is all I desire, and that for their sakes, for I am persuaded that an unprejudiced infidel must, necessarily, receive some advantageous impressions from them. July 7th, 1744. Night 7th. The Infidel Reclaimed, Part 2. In the sixth night, arguments were drawn from nature in proof of immortality. Here, others are drawn from man. Heaven gives the needful, but neglected call. What day, what hour, but knocks at human hearts? to wake the soul to sense of future scenes. Death stand like Mercury's in every way, and kindly point us to our journey's end. Pope, who couldst make immortals, art thou dead? I give thee joy, nor will I take my leave. So soon to follow, man but dives in death, dives from the sun, in fairer day to rise. The grave, his subterranean road to bliss. Yes, infinite indulgence planned it so. Through various parts our glorious story runs. Time gives the preface, endless age unrolls the volume, nay unrolled, of human fate. This, earth and skies already have proclaimed. The world's a prophecy of worlds to come. And who, what God foretells, who speaks in things still louder than in words, shall dare deny? If nature's arguments appear too weak, turn a new leaf, and stronger read in man. If man sleeps on, untaught by what he sees, can he prove infidel to what he feels? He, whose blind thought futurity denies, unconscious bears, Bellerophon, like thee, his own indictment, he condemns himself, who reads his bosom, reads immortal life. Or, nature, there, imposing on her sons, has written fables, man was made a lie. Why discontent forever harboured there? Incurable consumption of our peace. Resolve me, why, the cottager and king, he, whom sea-severed realms obey, and he, who steals his whole dominion from the waste, repelling winter blasts with mud and straw, disquieted alike, draw sigh for sigh, in fate so distant, in complaint so near? Is it, that things terrestrial can't content? Deep in rich pasture will thy flocks complain? Not so, but to their master is denied to share their sweet serene. Man, ill at ease in this, not his own place, this foreign field, where nature fodders him with other food than was ordained his cravings to suffice. Poor in abundance, famished at a feast, sighs on for something more, when most enjoyed is heaven, then, kinder to thy flocks than thee? Not so, thy pasture richer, but remote, in part, remote, for that remoter part man bleats from instinct, though perhaps debauched by sense, his reason sleeps, nor dreams the cause. The cause how obvious, when his reason wakes. His grief is but his grandeur in disguise, and discontent is immortality. Shall sons of Ether, shall the blood of heaven, set up their hopes on earth, and stable here, with brutal acquiescence in the mire? Lorenzo, no, they shall be nobly pained, the glorious foreigners, distressed, shall sigh on thrones, and thou congratulate the sigh. Man's misery declares him born for bliss. His anxious heart asserts the truth I sing, and gives the skeptic in his head the lie. Our heads, our hearts, our passions, and our powers speak the same language, call us to the skies. Unripen these in this inclement clime, scarce rise above conjecture and mistake, and for this land of trifles those too strong, tumultuous rise, and tempest human life. What prize on earth can pay us for the storm? Meet objects for our passions heaven ordained, objects that challenge all their fire, and leave no fault but in defect. Blessed heaven, avert a bounded ardour for unbounded bliss. Oh, for a bliss unbounded! Far beneath a soul immortal is a mortal joy. Nor are our powers to perish immature, but, after feeble effort here, beneath a brighter sun, and in a nobler soil, transplanted from this sublunary bed, shall flourish fair, and put forth all their bloom. Reason progressive, instinct is complete. Swift instinct leaps, slow reason feebly climbs. Brutes soon their zenith reach, their little all flows in at once. In ages they no more could know, or do, or covet, or enjoy. Were man to live coeval with the sun, the patriarch pupil would be learning still, yet dying leave his lesson half unlearned. Men perish in advance, as if the sun should set ere noon, in eastern oceans drowned, if fit, with dim, illustrious to compare, the sun's meridian with the soul of man. To man, why step-dame nature so severe? Why thrown aside thy masterpiece half wrought, while meaner efforts thy last hand enjoy? Or, if abortively poor man must die, nor reach what reach he might, why die in dread? Why cursed with foresight, wise to misery? Why of his proud prerogative the prey? Why less preeminent in rank than pain? His immortality alone can tell, full ample fund to balance all amiss, and turn the scale in favour of the just. His immortality alone can solve the darkest of enigmas, human hope, of all the darkest. If at death we die, Hope, eager hope, the assassin of our joy. All present blessings treading underfoot, is scarce a milder tyrant than despair. With no past toils content, still planting new, hope turns his oar to death alone for ease. Possession, why more tasteless than pursuit? Why is a wish far dearer than a crown? That wish accomplished, why the grave of bliss? Because, in the great future buried deep, beyond our plans of empire and renown, lies all that man with ardour should pursue, and he who made him bent him to the right. Man's heart the Almighty to the future sets, by secret and inviolable springs, and makes his hope his sublunary joy. Man's heart eats all things, and is hungry still. More, more, the glutton cries, for something new. So rages appetite. If man can't mount, he will descend. He starves on the possessed. Hence, the world's master, from ambition's spire, in Capreia plunged, and dived beneath the brute. In that rank sty, why wallowed empire's son supreme? Because he could no longer higher fly. His riot was ambition in despair. Old Rome consulted birds, Lorenzo. Thou, with more success, the flight of hope survey, of restless hope, forever on the wing. High perched over every fort that falcon sits, to fly at all that rises in her sight, and never stooping, but to mount again. Next moment she betrays her aim's mistake, and owns her quarry lodged beyond the grave. There should it fail us, it must fail us there, if being fails. More mournful riddles rise, and virtue vies with hope in mystery. Why virtue? Where its praise, its being fled. Virtue is true self-interest pursued. What true self-interest of quite mortal man? To close with all that makes him happy here. If vice, as sometimes, is our friend on earth, then vice is virtue, 'tis our sovereign good. In self-applause is virtue's golden prize. No self-applause attends it on thy scheme. Hence self-applause? From conscious of the right, and what is right, but means of happiness. No means of happiness when virtue yields, that basis falling, falls the building too, and lays in ruin every virtuous joy. The rigid guardian of a blameless heart, so long revered, so long reputed wise, is weak, with rank knight-errantries o'errun. Why beats thy bosom with illustrious dreams of self-exposure, laudable and great, of gallant enterprise and glorious death? Die for thy country, thou romantic fool, seize the plank thyself, and let her sink. Thy country, what to thee? The Godhead, what? I speak with awe, though he should bid thee bleed. If, with thy blood, thy final hope is spilt, nor can omnipotence reward the blow, be deaf, preserve thy being, disobey, nor is it disobedience. No, Lorenzo, whatever the Almighty subsequent command, his first command is this: man, love thyself. In this alone, free agents are not free. Existence is the basis, bliss the prize. If virtue costs existence, 'tis a crime, bold violation of our law supreme, black suicide, though nations which consult their gain at thy expense resound applause. Since virtue's recompense is doubtful here, if man dies wholly, well may we demand, why is man suffered to be good in vain? Why to be good in vain is man enjoined? Why to be good in vain is man betrayed? Betrayed by traitors lodged in his own breast, by sweet complacencies from virtue felt. Why whispers nature lies on virtue's part? Or if blind instinct, which assumes the name of sacred conscience, plays the fool in man, why reason made accomplice in the cheat? Why are the wisest, loudest in her praise? Can man by reason's beam be led astray? Or, at his peril, imitate his God? Since virtue sometimes ruins us on earth, or both are true, or man survives the grave, or man survives the grave, or own, Lorenzo, thy boast supreme, a wild absurdity, dauntless thy spirit, cowards are thy scorn. Grant man immortal, and thy scorn is just. The man immortal, rationally brave, dares rush on death, because he cannot die. But if man loses all, when life is lost, he lives a coward, or a fool expires, a daring infidel, and such there are, from pride, example, lucre, rage, revenge, or pure heroical defect of thought. Of all earth's madmen, most deserve a chain. When to the grave we followed the renown for valour, virtue, science, all we love and all we praise, for worth, whose noontide beam, enabling us to think in higher style, mends our ideas of ethereal powers, dream we that lustre of the moral world goes out in stench and rottenness the close? Why was he wise to know, and warm to praise, and strenuous to transcribe in human life the mind almighty? Could it be that fate, just when the lineaments began to shine and dawn the deity, should snatch the draught with night eternal blotted out, and give the skies alarm, lest angels too might die? If human souls, why not angelic too, extinguished, and a solitary God, o'er ghastly ruin, frowning from his throne? Shall we this moment gaze on God in man, the next lose man forever in the dust? From dust we disengage, all man mistakes, and there, where least his judgment fears a flaw, wisdom and worth, how boldly he commends, wisdom and worth are sacred names revered, where not embraced, applauded, deified, why not compassion too? If spirits die, both are calamities, inflicted, both, to make us but more wretched. Wisdom's eye, acute, for what? To spy more miseries, and worth, so recompensed, new points their stings. Or man surmounts the grave, or gain is loss, and worth exalted humbles us the more. Thou wilt not patronize a scheme that makes weakness and vice the refuge of mankind. Has virtue, then, no joys? Yes, joys dear bought, taught ne'er so long, in this imperfect state. Virtue and vice are at eternal war. Virtue's a combat, and who fights for naught, or for precarious, or for small reward? Who virtue's self-reward so loud resound, would take degrees angelic here below, and virtue, while they compliment, betray by feeble motives, and unfaithful guards, the crown, the unfading crown, her soul inspires, 'tis that, and that alone can countervail the body's treacheries, and the world's assaults. On earth's poor pay our famished virtue dies. Truth incontestable, in spite of all, a Baal is preached, or a Voltaire believed. In man the more we dive, the more we see, heaven's signet stamping an immortal make. Dive to the bottom of his soul, the base sustaining all, what find we? Knowledge, love, as light and heat, essential to the sun, these to the soul. And why, if souls expire? How little lovely here, how little known. Small knowledge we dig up with endless toil, and love and fame may purchase perfect hate. Why starved, on earth, are angel appetites, while brutal are indulged their fulsome fill? Were then capacities divine conferred as a mock diadem, in savage sport, a rank insult of our pompous poverty, which reaps but pain from seeming claims so fair? In future age lies no redress, and shuts eternity the door on our complaint? If so, for what strange ends were mortals made? Their worst to wallow, and the best to weep. The man who merits most must most complain. Can we conceive a disregard in heaven, what the worst perpetrate, or best endure? This cannot be. To love and know in man is boundless appetite, and boundless power, and these demonstrate boundless objects too. Objects, powers, appetites, heaven suits in all, nor, nature through, e'er violates this sweet, eternal concord on her tuneful string. Is man the sole exception from her laws? Eternity struck off from human hope, I speak with truth, but veneration too. Man is a monster, the reproach of heaven, a stain, a dark impenetrable cloud on nature's beauteous aspect, and deforms, amazing blot, deforms her with her Lord. If such is man's allotment, what is heaven? Or own the soul immortal, or blaspheme, or own the soul immortal, or invert all order? Go, mock majesty, go, man, and bow to thy superiors of the stall. Through every scene of sense superior far, they graze the turf untilled, they drink the stream unbrewed, and ever full and unembittered with doubts, fears, fruitless hopes, regrets, despairs, mankind's peculiar, reason's precious dower. No foreign clime they ransack for their robes, nor brothers sight to the litigious bar. Their good is good entire, unmixed, unmarred. They find a paradise in every field, on boughs forbidden where no curses hang. Their ill no more than strikes the sense, unstretched by previous dread, or murmur in the rear. When the worst comes, it comes unfeared. One stroke begins and ends their woe. They died but once, blessed, incommunicable privilege, for which proud man who rules the globe and reads the stars, philosopher or hero, sighs in vain. Account for this prerogative in brutes. No day, no glimpse of day to solve the knot, but what beams on it from eternity. O soul and sweet solution, that unties the difficult and softens the severe. The cloud on nature's beauteous face dispels, restores bright order, casts the brute beneath, and re-enthrones us in supremacy of joy. Even here admit immortal life, and virtue is knight errantry no more. Each virtue brings in hand a golden dower, far richer in reversion. Hope exalts, and though much bitter in our cup is thrown, predominates, and gives the taste of heaven. Oh, wherefore is the deity so kind, astonishing beyond astonishment? Heaven our reward, for heaven enjoined below. Still unsubdued, thy stubborn heart? For there the traitor lurks, who doubts the truth I sing. Reason is guiltless, will alone rebels. What, in that stubborn heart, if I should find new, unexpected witnesses against thee? Ambition, pleasure, and the love of gain? Canst thou suspect that these, which make the soul the slave of earth, should own her heir of heaven? Canst thou suspect what makes us disbelieve our immortality, should prove it sure? First then, ambition summoned to the bar. Ambition's shame, extravagance, disgust, and inextinguishable nature speak. Each much deposes, hear them in their turn. Thy soul, how passionately fond of fame, how anxious that fond passion to conceal. We blush, detected in designs on praise, though for best deeds, and from the best of men. And why? Because immortal. Art divine has made the body tutor to the soul. Heaven kindly gives our blood a moral flow, bids it ascend the glowing cheek, and there upbraid that little heart's inglorious aim, which stoops to court a character from man, while over us, in tremendous judgment, sit far more than man, with endless praise and blame. Ambition's boundless appetite outspeaks the verdict of its shame. When souls take fire at high presumptions of their own desert, one age is poor applause, the mighty shout, the thunder by the living few begun. Late time must echo, worlds unborn resound. We wish our names eternally to live, wild dream, which ne'er had haunted human thought, had not our natures been eternal too. Instinct points out an interest in hereafter, but our blind reason sees not where it lies, or, seeing, gives the substance for the shade. Fame is the shade of immortality, and in itself a shadow. Soon as caught, contemned, it shrinks to nothing in the grasp. Consult the ambitious, 'tis ambition's cure. And is this all? Cried Caesar at his height, disgusted. This third proof ambition brings of immortality, the first in fame. Observe him near, your envy will abate. Shamed at the disproportionate vast between the passion and the purchase, he will sigh at such success, and blush at his renown. And why? Because far richer prize invites his heart, far more illustrious glory calls. It calls in whispers, yet the deafest hear. And can ambition a fourth proof supply? It can, and stronger than the former three, yet quite o'erlooked by some reputed wise. Though disappointments in ambition pain, and though success disgusts, yet still, Lorenzo, in vain we strive to pluck it from our hearts. By nature planted for the noblest ends, observe the famed advice to Pyrrhus given, more praised than pondered, specious but unsound. Sooner that hero's sword the world had quelled, than reason, his ambition. Man must soar, an obstinate activity within, an insuppressive spring, will toss him up in spite of fortune's load. Not kings alone, each villager has his ambition too. No sultan prouder than his fettered slave. Slaves build their little Babylons of straw, echo the proud Assyrian in their hearts, and cry, behold the wonders of my might. And why? Because immortal as their lord, and souls immortal must forever heave at something great, the glitter or the gold, the praise of mortals or the praise of heaven. Nor absolutely vain is human praise, when human is supported by divine. I'll introduce Lorenzo to himself. Pleasure and pride, bad masters, share our hearts. As love of pleasure is ordained to guard and feed our bodies, and extend our race, the love of praise is planted to protect and propagate the glories of the mind. What is it but the love of praise inspires, matures, refines, embellishes, exalts earth's happiness? From that, the delicate, the grand, the marvellous of civil life, want and convenience, underworkers lay the basis on which love of glory builds. Nor is thy life, O virtue, less in debt to praise, thy secret stimulating friend. Were men not proud, what merit should we miss? Pride made the virtues of the pagan world. Praise is the salt that seasons right to man, and whets his appetite for moral good. First of applause is virtue's second guard, reason her first, but reason wants an aid. Our private reason is a flatterer. First of applause calls public judgment in, to poise our own, to keep an even scale, and give endangered virtue fairer play. Here a fifth proof arises, stronger still. Why this so nice construction of our hearts? these delicate moralities of sense, this constitutional reserve of aid to succour virtue when our reason fails. If virtue, kept alive by care and toil, and oft the mark of injuries on earth, when laboured to maturity, its bill of disciplines and pains unpaid must die. Why freighted rich to dash against a rock? Were man to perish when most fit to live? Oh, how misspent were all these stratagems, by skill divine inwoven in our frame. Where are heaven's holiness and mercy fled? Laughs heaven at once at virtue and at man? If not, why that discouraged, this destroyed? Thus far ambition, what says avarice? This her chief maxim, which has long been thine, the wise and wealthy are the same, I grant it, to store up treasure with incessant toil. This is man's province, this is highest praise. To this great end keen instinct stings him on, to guide that instinct, reason, is thy charge. 'Tis thine to tell us where true treasure lies. But, reason failing to discharge her trust, or to the deaf discharging it in vain, a blunder follows, and blind industry, gold by the spur, but stranger to the course where stakes of more than gold are won. O'erloading with the cares of distant age, the jaded spirits of the present hour, provides for an eternity below. Thou shalt not covet is a wise command, but bounded to the wealth the sun surveys. Look farther, the command stands quite reversed, and avarice is a virtue most divine. Is faith a refuge for our happiness? Most sure, and is it not for reason too? Nothing this world unriddles, but the next. Hence inextinguishable thirst of gain, from inextinguishable life in man. Man, if not meant by worth to reach the skies, had wanted wing to fly so far in guilt. Sour grapes, I grant, ambition, avarice, yet still their root is immortality. These its wild growths so bitter and so base, pain and reproach, religion can reclaim, refine, exalt, throw down their poisonous lee, and make them sparkle in the bowl of bliss. See, the third witness laughs at bliss remote, and falsely promises an Eden here. True she shall speak for once, though prone to lie, a common cheat, and pleasure is her name. To pleasure never was Lorenzo deaf, then hear her now first thy real friend, since nature made us not more fond than proud of happiness, hence hypocrites in joy, makers of mirth, artificers of smiles. Why should the joy most poignant sense affords burn us with blushes and rebuke our pride? Those heaven-born blushes tell us man descends, even in the zenith of his earthly bliss. Should reason take her infidel repose, this honest instinct speaks our lineage high. This instinct calls on darkness to conceal our rapturous relation to the stars. Our glory covers us with noble shame, and he that's unconfounded is unmanned. The man that blushes is not quite a brute. Thus far with thee, Lorenzo, will I close. Pleasure is good, and man for pleasure made, but pleasure full of glory as of joy, pleasure which neither blushes nor expires. The witnesses are heard, the cause is o'er. Let conscience file the sentence in her court. Dearer than deeds that half a realm convey, thus sealed by truth, the authentic record runs. Know all, know, infidels, and act to know. 'Tis immortality your nature solves. 'Tis immortality deciphers man, and opens all the mysteries of his make. Without it, half his instincts are a riddle. Without it, all his virtues are a dream. His very crimes attest his dignity. His sateless thirst of pleasure, gold, and fame declares him born for blessings infinite. What less than infinite makes unobserved passions, which all on earth but more inflames? Fierce passions, so mismeasured to this scene, stretched out like eagle's wings, beyond our nest, far, far beyond the worth of all below. For earth too large presage a nobler flight, and evidence title to the skies. Ye gentle theologues of calmer kind, whose constitution dictates to your pen, who, cold yourselves, think ardour comes from hell, think not our passions from corruption sprung, though to corruption now they lend their wings. That is their mistress, not their mother. All, and justly, reason deemed divine. I see, I feel a grandeur in the passions too, which speaks their high descent and glorious end, which speaks them rays of an eternal fire. In paradise itself they burned as strong, ere Adam fell, though wiser in their aim. Like the proud Eastern, struck by providence, what though our passions are run mad, and stoop with low, terrestrial appetite to graze on trash, on toys, dethroned from high desire? Yet still, through their disgrace, no feeble ray of greatness shines, and tells us hence they fell. But these, like that fallen monarch when reclaimed, when reason moderates the reign aright, shall reascend, remount their former sphere, where once they soared illustrious, ere seduced by wanton Eve's debauch, to stroll on earth, and set the sublunary world on fire. But grant their frenzy lasts, their frenzy fails to disappoint one providential end, for which heaven blew up ardour in our hearts. Were reason silent, boundless passion speaks, a future scene of boundless objects too, and brings glad tidings of eternal day. Eternal day, 'tis that enlightens all, and all, by that enlightened, proves it sure. Consider man as an immortal being, intelligible all, and all is great. A crystalline transparency prevails, and strikes full lustre through the human sphere. Consider man as mortal, all is dark, and wretched, reason weeps at the survey. The learned Lorenzo cries, and let her weep, weak, modern reason. Ancient times were wise. Authority, that venerable guide, stands on my part, the famed Athenian porch, and who for wisdom so renowned as they denied this immortality to man? I grant it, but affirm they proved it too. A riddle this, have patience, I'll explain. What noble vanities, what moral flights, glittering through their romantic wisdom's page, make us at once despise them, and admire. Fable is flat to these high-seasoned sires, they leave the extravagance of song below. Flesh shall not feel, or, feeling, shall enjoy the dagger, or the rack. To them, alike a bed of roses, or the burning bull. In men exploding all beyond the grave. Strange doctrine, this, as doctrine it was strange, but not as prophecy, for such it proved, and, to their own amazement, was fulfilled. They feigned a firmness Christians need not feign. The Christian truly triumphed in the flame. The Stoic saw, in double wonder lost, wonder at them, and wonder at himself, to find the bold adventures of his thought not bold, and that he strove to lie in vain. Hence, then, those thoughts, those towering thoughts that flew such monstrous heights, from instinct and from pride, the glorious instinct of a deathless soul, confusedly conscious of her dignity, suggested truths they could not understand. In lust's dominion, and in passion's storm, truth's system broken, scattered fragments lay, as light in chaos, glimmering through the gloom. Smit with the pomp of lofty sentiments, pleased pride proclaimed what reason disbelieved. Pride, like the Delphic priestess, with a swell, raved nonsense, destined to be future sense. When life immortal, in full day, shall shine, and death's dark shadows fly the gospel sun, they spoke what nothing but immortal souls could speak, and thus the truth they questioned proved. Can then absurdities, as well as crimes, speak man immortal? All things speak him so. Much has been urged, and dost thou call for more? Call, and with endless questions be distressed, all unresolvable, if earth is all. Why life, a moment, infinite, desire, our wish, eternity, our home, the grave? Heaven's promise dormant lies in human hope. Who wishes life immortal, proves it too. Why happiness pursued, though never found? Man's thirst of happiness declares it is, for nature never gravitates to naught. That thirst unquenched declares it is not here. My Lucia, thy Clarissa called to thought, why cordial friendship riveted so deep, as hearts to pierce at first, at parting, rend? If friend and friendship vanish in an hour, is not this torment in the mask of joy? Why by reflection marred the joys of sense? Why past and future preying on our hearts, and putting all our present joys to death? Why labours reason? Instinct were as well, instinct far better. What can choose, can err. Oh, how infallible the thoughtless brute! 'Twere well his holiness were half as sure. Reason with inclination, why at war? Why sense of guilt? Why conscience up in arms? Conscience of guilt is prophecy of pain, and bosom counsel to decline the blow. Reason with inclination they had jarred, if nothing future paid forbearance here. Thus on, these, and a thousand pleas uncalled, all promise, some ensure, a second scene, which, were it doubtful, would be dearer far than all things else most certain. Were it false, what truth on earth so precious as the lie? This world it gives us, let what will ensue. This world it gives, in that high cordial hope. The future of the present is the soul. How this life groans, when severed from the next. Poor mutilated wretch, that disbelieves. By dark distrust his being cut in two. In both parts perishes, life void of joy, sad prelude of eternity in pain. Couldst thou persuade me, the next life could fail our ardent wishes? How should I pour out my bleeding heart in anguish? new as deep. Oh, with what thoughts thy hope and my despair abhorred annihilation, blast the soul and wide extends the bound of human woe. Could I believe Lorenzo's system true? In this black channel would my ravings run. Grief from the future borrowed peace erewhile, the future vanished, and the present pained. Strange import of unprecedented ill. Fall, how profound, like Lucifer's, the fall, unequal fate, his fall without his guilt. From where fond hope built her pavilion high, the gods among, hurled headlong, hurled at once to night, to nothing, darker still than night. If 'twas a dream, why wake me, my worst foe? Lorenzo, boastful of the name of friend. Oh, for delusion, oh, for error still. Could vengeance strike much stronger than to plant a thinking being in a world like this? Not over-rich before, now beggared quite, more cursed than at the fall. The sun goes out, the thorns shoot up. What thorns in every thought? Why sense of better? It embitters worse. Why sense? Why life? It's but to sigh, then sink to what I was, twice nothing, and much woe. Woe from heaven's bounties, woe from what was wont to flatter most high intellectual powers, thought, virtue, knowledge, blessings by thy scheme, all poisoned into pains. First, knowledge once my soul's ambition, now her greatest dread. To know myself, true wisdom? No, to shun that shocking science, parent of despair. Avert thy mirror, if I see, I die. Know my Creator, climb his blessed abode by painful speculation, pierce the veil, dive in his nature, read his attributes, and gaze in admiration on a foe, obtruding life, withholding happiness. From the full rivers that surround his throne, not letting fall one drop of joy on man, man gasping for one drop, that he might cease to curse his birth, nor envy reptiles more. Ye sable clouds, ye darkest shades of night, hide him, forever hide him from my thought, once all my comfort, source, and soul of joy, now leagued with furies, and with thee against me. Know his achievements, study his renown, contemplate this amazing universe, dropped from his hand, with miracles replete. For what? Mid miracles of nobler name, to find one miracle of misery, to find the being, which alone can know and praise his works, a blemish on his praise? Through nature's ample range, in thought, to stroll, and start at man, the single mourner there, breathing high hope, chained down to pangs and death. Knowing his suffering, and shall virtue share the sigh of knowledge? Virtue shares the sigh, by straining up the steep of excellence, by battles fought, and, from temptation won. What gains she, but the pang of seeing worth, angelic worth, seems shuffled in the dark, with every vice, and swept to brutal dust? Merit is madness, virtue is a crime to reason, if it costs us pain. Unpaid, what pain, amidst a thousand more? To think the most abandoned, after days of triumph over their betters, find in death as soft a pillow, nor make fouler clay? Duty, religion, these are duty done, imply reward. Religion is a mistake. Duty, there's none, but to repel the cheat. Ye cheats, away, ye daughters of my pride, who feign yourselves the favourites of the skies. Ye towering hopes, abortive energies, that toss and struggle in my lying breast to scale the skies, and build presumptions there. As I were heir of an eternity, vain ambitions, trouble me no more. Why travel far in quest of sure defeat? As bounded as my being, be my wish. All is inverted, wisdom is a fool. Sense, take the rein, blind passion, drive us on, and ignorance, befriend us on our way. Ye new, but truest patrons of our peace. Yes, give the pulse full empire, live the brute, since, as the brute, we die, the son of man, of godlike man, to revel and to rot, but not on equal terms with other brutes. Their revels a more poignant relish yield, and safer too. They never poisons choose. Instinct, than reason, makes more wholesome meals, and sends all marring murmur far away. For sensual life they best philosophize. Theirs, that serene, the sages sought in vain. 'Tis man alone expostulates with heaven. His all the power, and all the cause to mourn. Shall human eyes alone dissolve in tears, and bleed in anguish none but human hearts? The wide-stretched realm of intellectual woe, surpassing sensual far, is all our own. In life so fatally distinguished, why cast in one lot, confounded, lumped in death? Ere yet in being, was mankind in guilt? Why thundered this peculiar clause against us, all mortal and all wretched? Have the skies reasons of state their subjects may not scan, nor humbly reason, when they sorely sigh. All mortal and all wretched, 'tis too much. Unparalleled in nature, 'tis too much on being unrequested at thy hands. Omnipotent, for I see naught but power. And why see that? Why thought? To toil and eat, then make our bed in darkness, needs no thought. What superfluities are reasoning souls? O give eternity, or thought destroy. But without thought our curse were half unfelt. Its blunted edge would spare the throbbing heart. And, therefore, 'tis bestowed. I thank thee, reason, for aiding life's too small calamities, and giving being to the dread of death. Such are thy bounties. Was it then too much for me to trespass on the brutal rights? Too much for heaven to make one emit more? Too much for chaos to permit my mass a longer stay with essences unwrought, unfashioned, untormented into man? Wretched preferment to this round of pains, wretched capacity of frenzy, thought, wretched capacity of dying, life, thought, worth, wisdom, all, O foul revolt, once friends to peace, gone over to the foe. Death, then, has changed his nature too. O death, come to my bosom, thou best gift of heaven, best friend of man, since man is man no more. Why in this thorny wilderness so long, since there's no promised land's ambrosial bower, to pay me with its honey for my stings? If needful to the selfish schemes of heaven to sting us sore, why mocked our misery? Why this so sumptuous insult over our heads? Why this illustrious canopy displayed? Why so magnificently lodged despair? At stated periods, sure returning, roll these glorious orbs, that mortals may compute their length of labours and of pains, nor lose their miseries full measure. Smiles with flowers and fruits promiscuous, every teeming earth, that man may languish in luxurious scenes, and in an Eden mourn his withered joys. Claim earth and skies man's admiration due, for such delights. Blessed animals, too wise to wonder, and too happy to complain. Our doom decreed demands a mournful scene. Why not a dungeon dark for the condemned? Why not the dragon's subterranean den for man to howl in? Why not his abode of the same dismal colour with his fate? A Thebes, a Babylon, at vast expense of time, toil, treasure, art, for owls and adders, as congruous as, for man, this lofty dome, which prompts proud thought and kindles high desire. If, from a humble chamber in the dust, while proud thought swells and high desire inflames, the poor worm calls us for her inmates there, and round us death's inexorable hand draws the dark curtain close, undrawn no more, behind the cloud of death, once I beheld a sun which gilt that sable cloud, and turned it all to gold. How the grave's altered, fathomless, as hell, a real hell to those who dreamt of heaven. Annihilation, how it yawns before me. Next moment I may drop from thought, from sense, the privilege of angels, and of worms, an outcast from existence. And this spirit, this all-pervading, this all-conscious soul, this particle of energy divine, which travels nature, flies from star to star, and visits gods, and emulates their powers, forever is extinguished. Horror, death of that death I fearless once surveyed, when horror universal shall descend, and heaven's dark concave earn all human race on that enormous, unrefunding tomb. How just this verse, this monumental sigh. Beneath the lumber of demolished worlds, deep in the rubbish of the general wreck, swept ignominious to common mass of matter, never dignified with life, here lie proud rationals, the sons of heaven, the lords of earth, the property of worms, beings of yesterday and no tomorrow, who lived in terror and in pangs expired, all gone to rot in chaos, or to make their happy transit into blocks or brutes, nor longer sully their Creator's name. Lorenzo, here, pause, ponder, and pronounce. Just is this history? If such is man, mankind's historian, though divine, might weep, and dares Lorenzo smile? I know thee proud, for once let pride befriend thee. Pride looks pale at such a scene, and sighs for something more. Amid thy boasts, presumptions, and displays, and art thou then a shadow, less than shade, a nothing, less than nothing, to have been, and not to be, is lower than unborn? Art thou ambitious? Why then make the worm thine equal? Runs thy taste of pleasure high? Why patronize sure death of every joy? Charm riches? Why choose beggary in the grave? Of every hope a bankrupt, and forever? Ambition, pleasure, avarice persuade thee to make that world of glory, rapture, wealth, they lately proved, the soul's supreme desire. What art thou made of? Rather, how unmade? Great nature's master appetite destroyed. Is endless life and happiness despised, or both wished here, where neither can be found? Such man's perverse, eternal war with heaven. Darest thou persist, and is there now on earth but a long train of transitory forms, rising and breaking millions in an hour? Bubbles of a fantastic deity blown up in sport, and then in cruelty destroyed. Oh, for what crime, unmerciful Lorenzo, destroys thy scheme the whole of human race? Kind is foul Lucifer compared to thee. Oh, spare this waste of being half divine, and vindicate the economy of heaven. Heaven is all love, all joy in giving joy. It never had created, but to bless. And shall it, then, strike off the list of life, a being blessed, or worthy so to be? Heaven starts at an annihilating God. Is that all nature starts at, thy desire? Art such a clod to wish thyself all clay? What is that dreadful wish? The dying groan of nature, murdered by the blackest guilt. What deadly poison has thy nature drank? To nature's undebauched no shock so great. Nature's first wish is endless happiness. Annihilation is an afterthought, a monstrous wish, unborn till virtue dies. And oh, what depth of horror lies enclosed, for non-existence no man ever wished, but first he wished the deity destroyed. If so, what words are dark enough to draw thy picture true? The darkest is too fair. Beneath what baleful planet, in what hour of desperation, by what fury's aid, in what infernal posture of the soul, all hell invited, and all hell enjoy, at such a birth so near of kin, did thy foul fancy whelp so black a scheme of hopes abortive, faculties half blown, and deities begun, reduced to dust? There's naught, thou sayest, but one eternal flux of feeble essences, tumultuous driven through time's rough billows into night's abyss. Say, in this rapid tide of human ruin, is there no rock on which man's tossing thought can rest from terror, dare his fate survey, and boldly think it something to be borne? Amid such hourly wrecks of being fair, is there no central, all-sustaining base, all-realizing, all-connecting power, which, as it called forth all things, can recall and force destruction to refund her spoil? Command the grave restore her taken prey. Bid death's dark veil its human harvest yield, and earth and ocean pay their debt of man, true to the grand deposit trusted there. Is there no potentate whose outstretched arm, when ripening time calls forth the appointed hour, plucked from foul devastations famished more, binds present, past, and future to his throne? His throne, how glorious, thus divinely graced, by germinating beings clustering round, a garland worthy the divinity, a throne by heaven's omnipotence in smiles, built like a pharos towering in the waves, amidst immense effusions of his love, an ocean of communicated bliss, an all-prolific, all-preserving God. This were a God indeed, and such is man as here presumed. He rises from his fall. Think'st thou omnipotence a naked root, each blossom fair of deity destroyed? Nothing is dead, nay, nothing sleeps each soul that ever animated human clay now wakes, is on the wing, and where, oh, where will the swarm settle, when the trumpets call, as sounding brass collects us round heaven's throne conglobed, we bask in everlasting day, paternal splendour, and adhere forever. Had not the soul this outlet to the skies, in this vast vessel of the universe, how should we gasp, as in an empty void? How in the pangs of famished hope expire? How bright my prospect shines, how gloomy thine, a trembling world and a devouring God. Earth, but the shambles of omnipotence, heaven's face all stained with causeless massacres of countless millions, born to feel the pang of being lost. Lorenzo, can it be? This bids us shudder at the thoughts of life. Who would be born to such a phantom world, where naught substantial but our misery, where joy, if joy, but heightens our distress, so soon to perish, and revive no more? The greater such a joy, the more it pains. A world so far from great, and yet how great it shines to thee. There's nothing real in it, being a shadow, consciousness, a dream. A dream, how dreadful, universal blank before it, and behind, poor man, a spark from non-existence struck by wrath divine, glittering a moment, nor that moment sure, midst upper, neither, and surrounding night, his sad, sure, sudden, and eternal tomb. Lorenzo, dost thou feel these arguments? Or is there naught but vengeance can be felt? How hast thou dared the deity dethrone? How dared indict him of a world like this? If such the world, creation was a crime. For what is crime but cause of misery? Retract, blasphemer, and unriddle this of endless arguments above, below, without us, and within. The short result: if man's immortal, there's a God in heaven. But wherefore such redundancy, such waste of argument? One sets my soul at rest, one obvious, and at hand, and oh, at heart, so just the skies. Philander's life so pained, his heart so pure, that all succeeding scenes have palms to give, or ne'er had been born. What an old tale is this, Lorenzo cries. I grant this argument is old, but truth no years impair, and had not this been true, thou never hadst despised it for its age. Truth is immortal as thy soul, and fable as fleeting as thy joys. Be wise, nor make heaven's highest blessing vengeance. Oh, be wise, nor make a curse of immortality. Say, knowest thou what is, or what thou art? Knowest thou the importance of a soul immortal? Behold this midnight glory, worlds on worlds, amazing pomp, redouble this amaze. 10,000 add twice 10,000 more, then weigh the whole, one soul outweighs them all, and calls the astonishing magnificence of unintelligent creation poor. For this, believe not me, no man believe, trust not in words, but deeds, and deeds no less than those of the Supreme, nor his, a few, consult them all, consulted, all proclaim thy soul's importance, tremble at thyself. For whom omnipotence has waked so long, has waked and worked for ages, from the birth of nature to this unbelieving hour. Is this small province of his vast domain, all nature bow while I pronounce his name? What has God done, and not for this sole end, to rescue souls from death? The soul's high price is writ in all the conduct of the skies. The soul's high price is the creation's key, unlocks its mysteries, and naked lays the genuine cause of every deed divine. That is the chain of ages, which maintains their obvious correspondence, and unites most distant periods in one blessed design. That is the mighty hinge, on which have turned all revolutions, whether we regard the natural, civil, or religious world, the former two but servants to the third. To that their duty done, they both expire. Their mass new cast, forgot their deeds renowned, and angels ask, where once they shone so fair, to lift us from this abject to sublime, this flux to permanent, this dark to day, this foul to pure, this turbid to serene, this mean to mighty. For this glorious end, the Almighty, rising, his long Sabbath broke. The world was made, was ruined, was restored. Laws from the skies were published, were repealed. On earth, kings, kingdoms rose, kings, kingdoms fell. Famed sages lighted up the pagan world. Prophets from Zion darted a keen glance through distant age. Saints travelled, martyrs bled. By wonders sacred nature stood controlled. The living were translated, dead were raised. Angels, and more than angels, came from heaven, and, oh, for this, descended lower still. Guilt was hell's gloom, astonished at his guest. For one short moment Lucifer adored. Lorenzo, and wilt thou do less? For this, that hallowed page, full scoff at, was inspired of all these truths thrice venerable code. Deists, perform your quarantine, and then fall prostrate, ere you touch it, lest you die, nor less intensely bent infernal powers to mar than those of light, this end to gain. Oh, what a scene is here, Lorenzo! Wake, rise to the thought, exert, expand thy soul, to take the vast idea it denies, all else the name of great. Two warring worlds, not Europe against Afric, warring worlds, of more than mortal, mounted on the wing, on ardent wings of energy and zeal, high hovering over this little brand of strife, this sublunary ball. But strife, for what? In their own cause conflicting? No, in thine, in man's. His single interest blows the flame, his the sole stake, his fate the trumpet sounds, which kindles war immortal. How it burns! Tumultuous swarms of deities in arms, force, force opposing, till the waves run high, and tempest nature's universal sphere. Such opposites eternal, steadfast, stern, such foes implacable, are good and ill. Yet man, vain man, would mediate peace between them. Think not this fiction, there was war in heaven. From heaven's high crystal mountain where it hung, The almighty outstretched arm took down his bow, and shot his indignation at the deep, refunded hell, and darted all her fires, and seems the stake of little moment still. And slumbers man, who singly caused the storm? He sleeps, and art thou shocked at mysteries? The greatest, thou, how dreadful to reflect, what ardour, care, and counsel mortals cause in breasts divine, how little in their own. Wherever I turn, how new proofs pour upon me, how happily this wondrous view supports my former argument, how strongly strikes immortals' life full demonstration. Here, why this exertion? Why this strange regard from heaven's omnipotent indulged to man? Because, in man, the glorious dreadful power, extremely to be pained, or blessed, forever. Duration gives importance, swells the price, an angel, if a creature of a day, what would he be? A trifle of no weight. Or stand, or fall, no matter which, he's gone. Because immortal, therefore is indulged, this strange regard of deities to dust. Hence, heaven looks down on earth with all her eyes. Hence, the soul's mighty moment in her sight. Hence, every soul has partisans above, and every thought a critic in the skies. Hence, clay, vile clay, has angels for its guard, and every guard a passion for his charge. Hence, from all age, the cabinet divine has held high counsel of the fate of man, nor have the clouds those gracious counsels hid. Angels undrew the curtain of the throne, and Providence came forth to meet mankind, in various modes of emphasis and awe. He spoke his will, and trembling nature heard. He spoke it loud, in thunder and in storm. Witness, thou Sinai, whose cloud-covered height and shaken basis owned the present God. Witness, ye billows, whose returning tide, breaking the chain that fastened it in air, swept Egypt and her menaces to hell. Witness, ye flames, the Assyrian tyrant blew to sevenfold rage, as impotent, as strong, and thou, earth, witness, whose expanding jaws closed over presumption's sacrilegious sons. Has not each element in turn subscribed the soul's high price and sworn it to the wise? Has not flame, ocean, ether, earthquake strove to strike this truth through adamantine man? If not all adamant, Lorenzo, here, all is delusion. Nature is wrapped up in tenfold night from reason's keenest eye. There's no consistence, meaning, plan, or end in all beneath the sun, in all above, as far as man can penetrate, or heaven is an immense, inestimable prize, or all is nothing, or that prize is all. And shall each toy be still a match for heaven, and full equivalent for groans below? Who would not give a trifle to prevent what he would give 1,000 worlds to cure? Lorenzo, thou hast seen, if thine to see, all nature and her God, by nature's course, and nature's course controlled. Declare for me, the skies above proclaim, immortal man, and man immortal, all below resounds. The world's a system of theology, read by the greatest strangers to the schools. If honest, learned, and sages o'er a plough, is not, Lorenzo, then, imposed on thee this hard alternative, or to renounce thy reason, or thy sense, or to believe? What then is unbelief? 'Tis an exploit, a strenuous enterprise. To gain it, man must burst through every bar of common sense, of common shame, magnanimously wrong. And what rewards the sturdy combatant? His prize, repentance, infamy, his crown. But wherefore infamy? For want of faith. Down the steep precipice of wrong he slides. There's nothing to support him in the right. Faith in the future wanting is, at least in embryo, every weakness, every guilt, and strong temptation ripens it to birth. If this life's gain invites him to the deed, why not his country sold, his father slain? 'Tis virtues to pursue our good supreme, and his supreme, his only good, is here. Ambition, avarice, by the wise disdained, is perfect wisdom, while mankind are fools and think a turf, or tombstone, covers all. These find employment, and provide for sense a richer pasture, and a larger range, and sense by right divine ascends the throne, when virtue's prize and prospect are no more. Virtue no more, we think the will of heaven. Would heaven quite beg of virtue, if beloved? Has virtue charms? I grant her heavenly fare, but if unportioned, all will interest wed. Though that our admiration, this our choice, the virtues grow on immortality. That root destroyed, they wither and expire. A deity believed will naught avail. Rewards and punishments make God adored, and hopes and fears give conscience all her power, as in the dying parent dies the child. Virtue with immortality expires. Who tells me he denies his soul immortal? Whatever his boast has told me he's a knave. His duty 'tis to love himself alone, nor care though mankind perish, if he smiles. Who thinks ere long the man shall wholly die, is dead already, naught but brute survives. And are there such? Such candidates there are, far more than death, for utter loss of being, being the basis of the deity. Ask you the cause they will not tell, nor need they, oh the sorceries of sense. They work this transformation on the soul, dismount her, like the serpent at the fall, dismount her from her native wing, which soared erewhile ethereal heights, and throw her down to lick the dust, and crawl in such a thought. Is it in words to paint you, O ye fallen, fallen from the wings of reason and of hope, erect in stature, prone in appetite, patrons of pleasure, posting into pain, lovers of argument, averse to sense, boasters of liberty, fast bound in chains, lords of the wide creation and the shame, more senseless than the irrationals you scorn, more base than those you rule, than those you pity far more undone. O ye most infamous of beings, from superior dignity, deepest in woe, from means of boundless bliss, ye cursed by blessings infinite, because most highly favoured, most profoundly lost, ye motley mass of contradiction strong, and are you, too, convinced your souls fly off in exhalation soft and die in air, from the full flood of evidence against you? In the coarse drudgeries and sinks of sense, your souls have quite worn out the make of heaven, by vice new cast, and creatures of your own. But though you can deform, you can't destroy. To curse, not uncreate, is all your power. Lorenzo, this black brotherhood renounce. Renounce Saint Evremont, and read Saint Paul, ere wrapped by miracle, by reason winged, his mountain mind made long abode in heaven. This is free thinking, unconfined to parts, to send the soul on curious travel bent through all the provinces of human thought, to dart her flight through the whole sphere of man, of this vast universe to make the tour, in each recess of space and time, at home, familiar with their wonders, diving deep, and, like a prince of boundless interest there, still most ambitious of the most remote, to look on truth unbroken and entire, truth in the system, the full orb where truths by truths enlightened and sustained afford an arch-like, strong foundation to support the incumbent weight of absolute complete conviction. Here, the more we press, we stand more firm, who most examine, most believe. Parts, like harsh sentences, confound the whole, conveys the sense, and God is understood. Who not in fragments writes to human race? Read his whole volume, skeptic, then reply. This is thinking free, a thought that grasps beyond a grain, and looks beyond an hour. Turn up thine eye, survey this midnight scene. What are earth's kingdoms to yon boundless orbs of human souls, one day the destined range? And what yon boundless orbs to godlike man? Those numerous worlds that throng the firmament, and ask more space in heaven, can roll at large in man's capacious thought, and still leave room for ampler orbs, for new creations there. Can such a soul contract itself to gripe a point of no dimension, of no weight? It can, it does. The world is such a point, and of that point how small a part enslaves, how small a part of nothing, shall I say. Why not, friends, our chief treasure, how they drop. Lucia, Narcissa fair, Philander, gone. The grave, like fabled Cerberus, has oped the triple mouth, and, in an awful voice, loud calls my soul, and utters all I sing. How the world falls to pieces round about us, and leaves us in a ruin of our joy. What says this transportation of my friends? It bids me love the place where now they dwell, and scorn this wretched spot they leave so poor. Eternity's vast ocean lies before thee. There, Lorenzo, thy Clarissa sails. Give thy mind sea room, keep it wide of earth, that rock of souls immortal. Cut thy cord, weigh anchor, spread thy sails, call every wind. I, thy great pole star, make the land of life. Two kinds of life has double-natured man, and two of death, the last far more severe. Life animal is nurtured by the sun, thrives on his bounties, triumphs in his beams. Life rational subsists on higher food, triumphant in his beams, who made the day. When we leave that sun, and are left by this, the fate of all who die in stubborn guilt, 'tis utter darkness, strictly double death. We sink by no judicial stroke of heaven, but nature's course, as sure as plummets fall. Since God, all man, must alter ere they meet, since light and darkness blend not in one sphere, 'tis manifest, Lorenzo, who must change, if, Then that double death should prove thy lot. Blame not the bowels of the deity. Man shall be blessed, as far as man permits. Not man alone, all rationals. Heaven arms with an illustrious, but tremendous power, to counteract its own most gracious ends. And this, of strict necessity, not choice, that power denied. Men, angels, were no more, but passive engines, void of praise or blame. A nature rational implies the power of being blessed or wretched, as we please, else idle reason would have naught to do, and he that would be barred capacity of pain courts incapacity of bliss. Heaven wills our happiness, allows our doom, invites us ardently, but not compels. Heaven but persuades, almighty man decrees. Man is the maker of immortal fates. Man falls by man, if finally he falls, and fall he must, who learns from death alone the dreadful secret that he lives forever. Why this to thee? Thee yet, perhaps in doubt, a second life. But wherefore doubtful still? Eternal life is nature's ardent wish. What ardently we wish, we soon believe. Thy tardy faith declares that wish destroyed. What has destroyed it? Shall I tell thee what? When feared the future, 'tis no longer wished, and, when unwished, we strive to disbelieve. Thus infidelity our guilt betrays, nor that the sole detection. Blush, Lorenzo, blush for hypocrisy, if not for guilt. The future feared, an infidel, and fear what? A dream, a fable? How thy dread, unwilling evidence, and therefore strong, affords my cause an undesigned support. How disbelief affirms what it denies. It, unawares, asserts immortal life. Surprising, infidelity turns out a creed and a confession of our sins. Apostates, thus, are orthodox divines. Lorenzo, with Lorenzo clash no more, nor longer a transparent visor wear. Think'st thou, religion only has her mask? Our infidels are Satan's hypocrites, pretend the worst, and at the bottom fail. When visited by thought will intrude, like him they serve, they tremble and believe. Is there hypocrisy so foul as this, so fatal to the welfare of the world? What detestation, what contempt their due, and, if unpaid, be thanked for their escape, that Christian candour they strive hard to scorn. If not for that asylum, they might find a hell on earth, nor scape a worse below, with insolence and impotence of thought, instead of racking fancy, to refute, reform thy manners, and the truth enjoy. But shall I dare confess the dire result? Can thy proud reason brook so black a brand? From purer manners to sublimer faith, is nature's unavoidable ascent an honest deist, where the gospel shines, matured to nobler in the Christian ends? When that blessed change arrives, even cast aside this song superfluous. Life immortal strikes, conviction, in a flood of light divine. A Christian dwells, like Uriel, in the sun. Meridian evidence puts doubt to flight, and ardent hope anticipates the skies. Of that bright sun, Lorenzo, scale the sphere. 'Tis easy, it invites thee, it descends from heaven to woo, and waft thee whence it came. Read and revere the sacred page, a page where triumphs immortality, a page which not the whole creation could produce, which not the conflagration shall destroy. 'Tis printed in the mind of gods forever, in nature's ruins not one letter lost, in proud disdain of what even gods adore. Dost smile, poor wretch? Thy guardian angel weeps. Angels and men assent to what I sing. Wits smile and thank me for my midnight dream. How vicious hearts fume frenzy to the brain. Parts push us on to pride, and pride to shame. Her infidelity is wit's cockade, to graze the brazen brow that braves the skies. By loss of being, dreadfully secure. Lorenzo, if thy doctrine wins the day, and drives my dreams defeated from the field, if this is all, if earth a final scene, take heed, stand fast, be sure to be a knave in grain, may deviate to the right. Shouldst thou be good, how infinite thy loss. Guilt only makes annihilation gain. Blessed scheme, which life deprives of comfort, death of hope, and which vice only recommends. If so, where, infidels, your bait thrown out to catch weak converts? Where your lofty boast of zeal for virtue, and of love to man? Annihilation, I confess, in these what can reclaim you? Dare I hope profound philosophers the converts of a song? Yet no, its title flatters you, not me. Yours be the praise to make my title good, mine to bless heaven and triumph in your praise. But since so pestilential your disease, though sovereign is the medicine I prescribe, as yet I'll neither triumph nor despair, but hope. Ere long, my midnight dream will wake your hearts and teach your wisdom to be wise. For why should souls immortal, made for bliss, e'er wish, and wish in vain, that souls could die? One ne'er can die, oh, grant to live, and crown the wish, and aim, and labour of the skies, increase, and enter on the joys of heaven. Thus shall my title pass a sacred seal, receive an imprimatur from above, while angels shout, an infidel reclaimed. To close, Lorenzo, spite of all my pains, still seems it strange that thou shouldst live forever? Is it less strange that thou shouldst live at all? This is a miracle, and that no more. Who gave beginning can exclude an end. Deny thou art, then doubt if thou shalt be. A miracle with miracles enclosed is man, and starts his faith at what is strange. What less than wonders from the wonderful, what less than miracles from God can flow? Admit a God, that mystery supreme, that cause uncaused, all other wonders cease. Nothing is marvellous for him to do. Deny him, all is mystery besides. Millions of mysteries, each darker far than that thy wisdom would unwisely shun. If weak thy faith, why choose the harder side? We nothing know but what is marvellous, yet what is marvellous we can't believe. So weak our reason, and so great our God. What most surprises in the sacred page, or full as strange, or stranger, must be true. Faith is not reason's labour, but repose. To faith and virtue, why so backward, man? From hence, the present strongly strikes us all. The future, faintly, can we, then, be men? If men, Lorenzo, the reverse is right. Reason is man's peculiar, sense the brute's. The present is the scanty realm of sense. The future, reason's empire unconfined. On that, expending all her godlike power, she plans, provides, expatiates, triumphs. There builds her blessings, there expects her praise, and nothing asks of fortune or of men. And what is reason? Be she thus defined. Reason is upright stature in the soul. Oh, be a man, and strive to be a god. For what, thou sayest? To damp the joys of life? No, to give heart and substance to thy joys. That tyrant, hope, mark how she domineers. She bids us quit realities for dreams, safety and peace for hazard and alarm. That tyrant, oh the tyrants of the soul, she bids ambition quit its taken prize, spurn the luxurious branch on which it sits, though bearing crowns, to spring at distant game, and plunge in toils and dangers for repose. If hope precarious, and of things, when gained, of little moment, and as little stay, can sweeten toils and dangers into joys, what then that hope which nothing can defeat? I'll leave unasked, rich hope of boundless bliss, bliss past man's power to paint it, times to close. This hope of earth is most estimable prize, this is man's portion, while no more than man. Hope of all passions most befriends us here, passions of prouder name befriend us less. Joy has her tears, and transport has her death. Hope, like a cordial, innocent though strong, man's heart at once in spirit and serenes, nor makes him pay his wisdom for his joys. 'Tis all our present state can safely bear, health to the frame, and vigour to the mind, a joy attempered, a chastised delight, like the fair summer evening, mild and sweet. 'Tis man's full cup, his paradise below. Blessed hereafter, then, or hoped, or gained, is all our whole of happiness, full proof. I chose no trivial or inglorious theme, and know, ye foes to song, well-meaning man, though quite forgotten half your Bible's praise, important truths, in spite of verse, may please. Give grave minds you praise, nor can you praise too much. If there is weight in an eternity, let the grave listen, and be graver still. End of Night 7.